Yeah.
He said he wanted to come in and kind of do the show. He says, but I'm not going to pay you anything for it. Now, why would a guy who has all that dough not want to throw a guy, most people pay me $500 a month to do a show,
Yeah.
I've even thought you should throw me something to help pay the rent.
I think I should get paid.
You're so frugal.
I should get paid.
No, you should help out here too. What'd you say?
Quiet on set.
Should I put the red on? I didn't look at you.
You're live.
Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves, is ready to go. Talking to people you want to know. Face to face, one on one. Get the story and have some fun with Rhett Palmer.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
David Hunter is in the studio this morning, former U.S. diplomato. How are you doing there?
Hey, it's good to be here, Rhett.
Lot to discuss today.
There is.
Oh, man.
The world is flying around.
It's craziness, huh?
Yeah, a lot of things to cover.
We got a floating pier in Gaza that we need to talk about. $350 million floating pier. $350 million floating. I'd like to have that contract. I wonder who got that.
Yeah.
People, we have no idea the naivety of these contracts. I'm Senator Palmer, and you're in charge, and you say, well, I said, get me the deal, and I'll make sure. It's just $350 million. So how about if I slip $2 million in your back pocket for speaking engagements in Australia to poor kids? I mean, it's just a man wants to be deceitful. There's no getting in the way of it, right?
Well, this floating pier is actually an act of desperation because the Israelis have cut off the majority of food supplies going into Gaza.
And it's not just the military; it's the Israeli people because they're upset that they're keeping their hostages.
Well, I understand, but the point is, whoever it is, the military, the Israeli people, you name it, they are in effect engaged in an act of war by starvation and against the civilian population.
Well, the same thing happened during
now,
World War II against us.
No, if you're against
England, they didn't have any food in England.
Wait, if you're against a radical group, a radical Islamic group holding hostages, that does not entitle you to starve the entire population.
Okay, hold on.
The entire population.
Those people elected.
Okay,
Hamas.
so you're saying they're all guilty. That's what you're assuming.
I'm
you're assuming
saying
that
I'm not saying guilty. I said that there's a responsibility. They elected Hamas. If you sow into the wind, you reap the whirlwind. What are we going to do? Say, oh, we're sorry that the children are starving in Nazi. We got to send them some money. Oh, send them some food. I mean, but our guys don't have food. We're sending all this money around the world, and
Okay.
I got guys on the street here that put their lives on the line.
Yeah,
Veterans of war, and nobody cares.
Well, we have a fundamental disagreement if you think that it's okay to sit there and starve innocent women and children to death.
I don't know.
Starve them to death, literally.
War is war, whatever it is.
No, that's not war. That's way outside the rules of war. That's the whole point. We're going to get to that a little later.
I have no idea.
Wait a minute. I know you don't, and that's the problem. And a lot of people out there in the audience also have no idea. And
that's what we're here to discuss.
Therefore, for example.
So what do you suggest we do?
For example, we're going to get to this a little later today. The International Criminal Court has proposed arrest warrants on Benjamin Netanyahu and the defense minister, Mr. Gallant.
Wow.
Specifically, or one of the main charges is that they are engaged in a war of starvation.
Now, who is Gallant?
Gallant is the defense minister.
Okay.
He is the defense minister of Israel. And the court is charging, this prosecutor, Mr. Khan, is charging that Israel, under the direct express approval of Mr. Netanyahu, is engaged in this war of starvation, starving the civilian population. That is a war crime, Rhett. Get this in your mind. That is not an acceptable act.
What's the war crime with them holding all those hostages and everything? And have you seen the newly released videos that they're putting out there of these people cheering on Hamas when they're raping the women, raping them like 20 men on one woman, killing them?
Okay, I haven't seen those videos, and I know that
Some people have.
I know, and there is a movie or a film that came out recently, something about the screams of silence.
My niece, my Jewish niece, sent that to me.
Yeah, screams of silence,
I
which
need
is
to watch
which
it.
is also a what you called a
Do you want me to send it to you?
no
Why?
an incendiary.
Why? Why don't you want to say it?
Well,
Shouldn't you expose yourself to both sides of this whole thing?
let me explain. This film about the rape of and murder of Israeli women on October 7th.
Yeah. And babies.
And babies, some of them. There were some gruesome crimes committed. I'm not denying that
There always is on both sides.
there are gruesome crimes committed.
Vietnam.
Now the point is like the My Lai massacre and so forth in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And the point is that the timing of getting this out now is to further incentivize or make incendiary feelings and emotions to keep the anger burning. Let's put it that way. That's the whole idea. You keep
Well, there's
bringing
a whole
this
lot
up.
more about anger being fed to be against, for pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish. It's terrifying. I went down to what's the what starts with a
Barnes
B?
and Noble.
No, not Barnes and Noble. It's a fancy sweater shop. All the high-end guys go there.
Oh,
you know.
I don't know.
Well, I was in there anyway.
Yeah.
And
Here in Vero or
No, this is in Palm
oh,
Beach.
Palm Beach. Okay.
And the 24-year-old young male says, we're talking. He said, well, they don't teach us history in school anymore.
Yeah.
So they're not even aware of World War II. And this is some calculated thing they're doing here, too. To if people don't know history, they're destined to repeat it. And they have more control over people.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story that because you're quite right. A lot of people don't know history.
Yeah.
I had a guy who was working for me as a repairman, very nice young man.
Yeah.
And I asked him, "Oh, are you from Vero?" And he said, "No, I actually moved down here from Kentucky." And I said, "Oh, then you must know Daniel Boone." He didn't know who I was talking about, Daniel Boone. Now, Daniel Boone was the original frontiersman who was from Kentucky.
Yeah, she's one of your heroes.
He's one of your heroes,
He
yours
should
and
be.
mine.
Yeah.
But
And if you're from Kentucky,
and if
he's
you're from
definitely a
Kentucky,
hero.
you'd think you'd know this guy.
Yeah.
If you were from Florida, I might accept that Noah didn't know who Daniel Boone was. But
Does Noah know?
I don't know. Noah, do you know?
You know who Daniel Boone was?
No.
You don't know who Daniel Boone was? Daniel Boone was a man. I met the guy, Fess Parker, who played him on TV.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He took me on a tour of his winery late in life.
Okay. So
Very
anyway,
nice man.
So anyway, you're quite right. There's evidence in our studio about the lack of history. People not knowing.
Do you know about? You
heard of George Washington?
Were you taught World War II? Are you familiar? How deeply are you familiar with the Jews and the abuse they took in this? The 70 million people totally were killed in World War II. 6 million Jews, but about 13 million including other people like Poles.
Yeah. There were a lot of Slavs.
I know if you
Slavs.
were mentally if you were a little retarded, you were
Yeah.
shot and killed.
Well,
if you were a cripple, you were shot and killed.
Yeah. Let's not focus.
If you're homosexual, you were shot and killed.
Let's not focus too much on the World War II because we've got
no,
enough.
But the point is, though, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how much he does or doesn't
Okay,
know.
we'll do that on another show.
You know what?
We'll do a quiz show one of these
But
times.
what worries me is
Yeah.
I go back to the bombs of mass destruction that our CIA didn't even know nay or yay. They screwed up, and look what happened.
You're talking about the
Bush.
so-called yellow cake decision and the
going
time
to war
of,
with
Iraq.
and I mean,
Yeah.
I hate bullies.
Yeah.
I loathe bullies.
Yeah.
I mean, Saddam Hussein and his sons would have been nice to put a bullet in their head, and that's something I almost could have done had I really seen their atrocities. We know of their atrocities, but at least he had the Shiites and the Sunnis all How did he do that? He had everybody living in peace.
Yeah, living in peace under fear. That was what it was. That
Yeah.
basically, anybody that raises their head gets shot. So everybody's
Which has been my warning. If you go back and to listen to any of my recorded shows from 25
Yeah.
years ago, I said, listen, folks, either we are going to get morally up to date, or what will happen eventually, it'll fritter away. And then, and all you liberals out there, listen, you remember me, probably I'll be dead and gone by then, but you remember me when this happens in the next 20, 25 years, and all of a sudden we're oppressed with a dictator, because if man does not organize himself under the authority, the loving authority of a God that has certain order, and then man comes along and says, well, you don't have morals, we're going to make morals. You put your gum on the sidewalk in Malaysia, you're going to jail for 5 years. If you spit your gum in Malaysia, you go to jail for 5 years.
Actually, that's Singapore.
Oh, okay.
Singapore, yes, which is near Malaysia. Okay. Singapore is a small country, and it's run as what's called, you might call it a benevolent dictatorship. That was at least the way it got started, but very strict rules.
Let me ask you this, do you know, we had this guy up in Canada, who I flippantly want to say moron, but
Trudeau?
I don't know. If he's
Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, I mean, I liked his dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think that he said? He said he applauded the Chinese. Did you see that quote? I saw him say it. He applauded the Chinese because they've successfully, with their dictatorship, have made a successful.
Yeah, to be honest,
what do you think of that?
If you're looking at China, we're straying off course. But let me make a brief comment about that, because
I'm just looking
valid.
for truth. I really don't care about China, whoever it is. But.
The fact is, China has done a remarkable job under this communist dictatorship of achieving a huge economic success. They have, of course, a lot of that has been stolen technology and using unfair trade practices to dump products, like what they're talking about. A lot of the electric vehicles that they want to sell in our country would be considered dumping of their products, because they're making excess capacity and then selling it at a low price in order to take over the market.
So they're hurting our companies like Ford. Yeah,
that's
but,
the theory.
Ford
yeah.
and Chrysler and these people have not kept up.
You're right, and that's the problem with economic competition and claims of dumping.
But is that because you've got a worker, an uneducated worker, making $50 an hour, and if you put in the retirement and you put in all the medical and everything, they're making $100 an hour. I dropped out, and I dropped out in 8th grade, so I can say this. But you go from a guy that doesn't want to use his brain. If you don't want to use your brain, that's fine.
Right. Well,
but there's a consequence for not wanting to use your brain. People only pay so much for muscle and sweat. So if that's what you want to do. Now my only thing with my Father in heaven is this. I go, what about the guy, I've been born with a bit of an intellect, I think. Sometimes I doubt it. But, the guys out here working, good, solid working men, who
one guy is shoveling, and there are 3 people watching.
We always see that. That is true. It is amazing. It is amazing. Every time I go by construction, there always seem to be wandering around like they're waiting for the next truck of dump. It's amazing how anything gets done. Do you know that they purposely only do so much in a day, because they tell the other workers, if you keep working that hard, you're making the rest of us look bad, and we'll get done with the project too soon.
Yeah.
Like they made a mistake over here at the bridge. So it's been extended for another couple of years. 4 years to build this new bridge.
To
redo the Amelie Bridge.
Oh, okay. I wondered why that's taken so long.
Yeah, they made a mistake. There was they did something. I don't know.
Okay.
The
Well,
bridge
anyway,
wasn't landing on the road.
That's not
in
the
the
interest.
place.
Our audience is not interested in that. Let's get back to the doc.
No, nobody's interested in anything. And the bad news is we got these things right now that get in the way. We've got computers. We all think we've made life simpler. I'm going to tell you something. 17, 20 years ago, when I was doing my show, life was really nice.
Yeah.
We did have email.
Yeah.
That was bad enough when we got email.
Yeah.
And you go, what? I got right now. Look, do you want to see my email?
No, I don't want to see it.
Oh,
I don't want to.
I'm going to make a point though. The point here.
Come on, back to the show. Back to the show. You've made your point. Let's talk about the floating pier. This is serious stuff. The reason why we are talking about this floating pier, besides it costing $350 million, it was built by the U.S. military. Now, in a way, it's a very big success. It took them about 3 months to build, Their purpose in building the pier, pay attention, Rhett, their purpose in building the pier is to bring in food aid and medical aid and other supplies to Gaza because the main crossings haven't been delivering enough of this. You've heard before that only about 200 trucks a day is coming in. The pier, when it's fully functional, which I believe it's getting close to, will allow something close to 90 trucks a day. The stuff is being assembled in Cyprus. It's being reviewed by Israeli security in Cyprus as it's being loaded onto barges going to the pier. And therefore, there's no further...
Cyprus is Greece, correct?
No, Cyprus is not Greece. Cyprus is a separate country near Greece. It's a little island out in the middle of the
I didn't go there when
Mediterranean.
I was there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's about 200 miles from Israel by ship. So they're able to load the ships, bring them in, get them to this pier with pre-screened material, put them on trucks, and then drive it into Gaza and deliver it where it's needed. Now, when I say there were 200 trucks a day trickling in, unfortunately, because of this current war or attack on Rafah area, which Israel is mounting now, they have shut down the Rafah crossing. That's the one that goes to Egypt. The Rafah crossing was the main source of entry and exit of goods and people.
But you know why?
Well, let's not.
We got to put in the truth. The truth is the Hamas are coming in with guns and telling the Palestinians, the common people there, that you're shooting them. You can't touch that food. They're taking the food for themselves to feed their soldiers.
Okay, that's a false. It's a propaganda. It's wrong.
But it's not all
it's false. The UN has.
How come you say everything with Israel's false, but everything is true with Gaza?
No, I don't say that. I don't say that. But I do know that the UNRWA and the World Food Program and others, Cindy McCain, who's not a Hamas member, by the way, Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife.
Yeah.
Okay, she's no Hamas sympathizer.
Okay.
She said that Israel is blocking the food aid coming in, and that Israel is now in a state, not Israel, Hamas, not Hamas, Gaza is now in a state of almost total starvation. That's what she said just a week ago. I said that on the show.
Sure.
Okay.
And in Love and War, right now, if you had my daughter there, I'm going to take that. I'm going to tell you what.
Rhett,
I'm going to fire. I'm going to fire those trucks because
Rhett,
you're going to starve them out.
Rhett,
you're right. Get my daughter back here.
Okay, I would. If you were going to
war is war, baby.
If you were going to take that approach, then Hamas should take the approach that they're not going to feed any of the hostages anymore until the.
That's the way I always thought. I was saying I don't understand how you can go down. Hey, let's kill each other, but we're going to have rules on how we can do it.
Well, to be honest,
I mean, I really think humans are like idiotic. I mean,
no, the rules of war are actually not idiotic, Rhett.
Well, they didn't keep them in Germany in World War II.
Yes, there were. There were lots of rules of war. Do you remember Hogan's
soldiers.
Heroes? Do you remember Hogan's Heroes, the movie, the TV series? Yes. Okay, who were those people? Who were those people? Who was Sergeant Schultz? Who was
Schultz?
And if you watch that, and your audience out there should watch that, just to go back and understand there were rules of war. There were prisoners of war. They were treated with respect. They were not tortured. This was not My Lai massacre kind of stuff.
You're yelling those.
Well, I'm trying to get it across to a rather.
What did you say, Noah?
Because you won't listen.
I'm sitting here listening. He's yelling at me. What are you talking about? Why does Noah always take your side? Hey, Noah.
Maybe because I'm right.
No, do you know, Noah, you never take my side.
Maybe.
What?
He's had little reason to.
See little that?
Okay.
See that?
Okay, so.
Everywhere I go, I'm the bad guy.
All right. No, you're not a bad guy, but you are a misinformed guy, and you are often.
Nobody ever thinks I'm right.
You're misinformed. Okay. So let's go back to the Cindy McCain, the starvation of Gaza, the intentional starvation of Gaza. As I said, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has just announced a prosecution arrest warrant for Netanyahu.
Still yelling.
For Netanyahu because he is engaged.
Maybe it's my hearing aids.
That might
down
be
a little bit.
He has been engaged in
that sounds better. Okay.
In a criminal act of starvation is an act of war. You're saying, that's fine.
That's
war is war.
It was the hearing aids were making it very bright.
You're saying that war is war. No, war is not war, and starvation of innocent women and children is not allowed, even in a war. It's not allowed, Rhett. Okay? That is considered to be a war crime. War crimes are not part of war.
You know, Noah says he has very rare time to say that I'm right. You know, it is right. Really, I don't belong doing this, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
You know why? I have no idea of the deceit of man. Just a little aside here.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. I sure hope I'm right about this for moi. It says the children of this age are wiser than the children of the age to come. I've always had a naivety about me. You'd agree with that, right, Noah? I have a naivety about me? Okay. All right.
Okay.
And so the children of this age are wiser than children of the age to come. I shouldn't really be doing this because you know what? My heart's not in this.
Well,
Because you know what? When I first came to town, it took the Mayor Carolyn Ginn. She says, you know, you need to start reading those letters to the editor. I said, where are they? Oh, it showed me in the newspaper. So I started, because I had the sense. It's like Bob Dylan's song, I was so much older then, I'm younger than I now. When I first got to town 30 years ago, I thought, I'm not going to get upset about the politics of man, because this year they're yelling about this. Next year they'll be yelling about, if we keep doing this, right, next year at this very time, you'll be yelling about something else going on. We'll be talking about something else.
Well, I hope so.
But
I
I
hope
mean,
so.
we go along, and there's always, and it's like it never stops bleeding. Mankind is just bleeding and bleeding, and that's why people wanted Jesus to be a general. Did you know that? They really thought the Messiah was coming.
The Jews
to conquer,
wanted, not the Christians. The Jews wanted
to conquer the Romans, right?
Yeah,
The Christians didn't exist because Jesus just came to town.
Jesus was the Christian. He was the Christian, the first Christian.
He was the Jew.
He was a Jew who converted to Christianity. That's an
He
important.
wasn't a Jew that Christian.
Yes, he did.
Jesus didn't convert to
He
Christianity.
did. He converted by being made the Son of God.
He was Christianity.
He was Christianity. Yeah, well, you can think of it like, so don't call him a Jew. He wasn't a Jew. He was a Christian.
But he was born a Jew, and he was a rabbi. As a matter of fact, even the other rabbis in the Bible called him rabbi.
Okay.
The point is, they wanted to make him. They wanted to do a political thing. When he was coming into town to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, those in the know knew that he was going to be sacrificed as the Lamb of God. But the rest of the people thought, "This is great. He's going to." Why do you think Peter took off the ear? In the garden. Hold on, let me just finish it. You know why Peter took off the ear of the guy in the garden? Because they thought this was it. Now God, maybe even Judas thought that this is it. Hey, I'm gonna accelerate this thing and get this guy arrested, so he'll have to come out and take over.
Yeah,
and
okay.
All
right.
No, Jesus said, "This is not my way. I came to establish relationship in an unseen kingdom of God, not with the affairs of men."
Right. Okay. Well, let's go back to the point that we're discussing, which is not just the peer, but the whole problem of what's called the genocide by starvation. That would be the term for it that some people are using, that Israel is using. Now, you can say, I don't care about this. I'd rather focus on something else. Well,
I do care about the genocide
you should
of
care
people.
about it.
I love people.
Yes, you should.
I would like to feed everybody.
And you
if
should
I was
also,
down in Mexico border, I'd be bringing them, sneaking them all over. And if
Yeah.
I was there in Gaza right now, I'd be feeding the kids and
All right.
doing anything I could to steal food and get it to
Okay,
them.
well, anyway, so there's a complicated political
So I don't
process.
fit.
There's a complicated political process going on in this area called Rafah and the Rafah crossing.
Yeah.
Not the war in Rafah, which Israel's conducting, but the closing of the Rafah border.
And
Now-
this is because they feel that this is the last
I know,
holdout
you said there was
with Hamas.
smuggling. Yes, they feel this is the last
They feel
holdout.
Hamas is down there. Did
Yeah.
you see those things they just found out going into Egypt? The road's twice the size of this room, where you can put a big truck and it goes into Egypt.
Yeah, okay.
From Rafah
underground
into
tunnel?
Egypt. Yeah.
Some underground tunnels,
There's a tunnel. It's like, it's a real tunnel.
Yeah, a big
Not just
tunnel.
a
Okay.
one-person tunnel. This is a car and truck tunnel.
All right, well, that's what I want to talk about. This particular area, the border crossing between Egypt and Israel. The Israelis have taken over that Rafah border crossing. They have taken over. They've got troops there and tanks on the border crossing. And that whole stretch, it's an 8-mile long stretch going from the sea over across to the main corner that of Egypt. That's 8 miles long. And there's a 100-meter wide area there called the Philadelphia Corridor. The Philadelphia Corridor. That's
I
the
wonder why they would name it that.
I don't know, but it's called the Philadelphia Corridor, and under the treaty, under the treaty agreement,
brotherly love.
yeah, under the treaty that the Egyptians and the Israelis had signed, the management of the Philadelphia Corridor would be done by Egypt and by the Palestinians. Now the Israelis have taken over the Philadelphia Corridor and put military soldiers in the Philadelphia Corridor, including on the Rafah border. So they are violating the treaty, which was the Camp David Accord that had been agreed to. So Egypt is saying, you are violating the accord by putting your military troops right up on my border. There was supposed to be a 100-meter wide area that was only controlled by Egyptian troops on one side and Palestinian troops or Palestinian forces on the other.
There was a time when man had enough pride that you could go in and say, okay, all the women and children and older men can all get on buses. We're going to bring you into somewhere else, and we're going to feed you and take care of you. And, you know, obviously little kids are not Hamas. And then men who are real men and courageous would not say they were not Hamas when they in fact were. But now it's all sneaky guerrilla fighting. And if you went and if you send buses in there to bring the people out of this Gaza Strip right now,
yeah,
you know, you're going to have these bad guys, the Hamas, dress up. You know, it's like right in America right now. Guys go in and they shoot up a school. What they do is, and they have another change of clothes underneath the change of clothes. At the last minute, when the cops are coming, everybody's walking out holding their hands up there. They go into the bathroom to take off their old clothes, and they put their hands up like they're just one of the students, these young guys. And they show that they're taken out, and they don't have any weapons on them, so they'll let go, and they go home, and they're the murderers.
That's one of the reasons why this claim that Rafah is the last holdout of Hamas is a ludicrous idea.
Why?
You just pointed it out yourself. You explained to me 5 seconds ago.
So
don't ask
not.
me why. You know why. Yeah. Why is it?
Why? Because, I mean, there'll be other
because
places.
They're going someplace else.
Yeah, yeah.
You've already had 800,000 people evacuate.
800,000.
800,000 have evacuated Rafah. Now, don't you think some of those people are Hamas? Of course they are.
Maybe.
And therefore, when you say, "Oh, this is the last holdout," that's baloney, Rhett. How stupid can you be?
Well,
How stupid can you be?
I don't know. Stupid.
It's the last holdout, but these people are leaving, and they could be Hamas. And the problem with
so
this.
What do you do?
Well, the problem is Israel doesn't know who's Hamas and who isn't Hamas. They don't have a clue. They sit there and they kill anybody. I've explained this to you before on the show. They would sit there and create these kill zones. If you walk through that kill zone, we're going to kill you, and then we'll call you Hamas because we just killed you.
The only thing about you that makes me suspect of you and your thoughts is this: I never hear you
Supporting Israel.
Yeah, because somebody who's looking for a balance goes, well, they think this, and I go, this is here, and I see the Palestinians' point of view, and then I see their point of view, and I try to figure out. You know, I know they started it. So
I've said before that I support Israel, but I do not support Zionism, and I definitely do not support Netanyahu, and I don't support Ben Gvir.
Zionism is very nebulous. Is that the right word right now?
Okay,
because my idea of Zionism is different than the current thing going around. Because Barbara said, be careful calling yourself a Zionist because it's not what it used to be. Then you got a guy who says he's a born-again Christian who had True News out west of town, and I heard that he's saying really vitriolic things. And my ex-producer, Jody, who's 100% Jewish, works for him, and that he's saying really nasty, not nice things about the Jews. I don't know if this is true, but...
Well, keep in mind, Rhett, Rhett, pay attention.
Yes.
The fact is you can be a Zionist without being Jewish. Okay?
I'm not Jewish.
I know, and you say you're a Zionist, and so was Jim Finney. Jim Finney is a Zionist, and he's Christian. So Zionism is not the same thing as Judaism. To say you're anti-Zionist does not make you anti-Semitic. It doesn't mean you're anti-Jew. A Zionist is a political philosophy of essentially settler colonialism. That's what it is. Zionism is a form of settler colonialism, which you...
Settler
colonialism. You move into an area and you become the colonial dictator of the area.
That's right. And I think the spoils of war. What did they do in the days of old? When Genghis Khan took over an area, we won. So guess what? You're going to do. We're going to eat bananas on Tuesdays, and you're going to eat the bananas because that's what we eat on Tuesdays. We're in charge now.
And Genghis Khan was one of the most evil, despised dictators in the world in all of history. Yeah. Genghis Khan, and you're using him as an example.
All of them.
As an example.
Well, yeah, they're conquerors. I mean, in the days of old, when Rome conquered Israel, what did they do? They had authority.
Actually, they created under the what was the king at the time that was doing this, checking the babies. What was his name? That was checking for the
Pontius
babies.
Pilate and whatever his name
Herod,
was.
King Herod.
Yeah.
Herod was Jewish. Herod was appointed by the Roman government as what you called their Jew.
And he didn't want the Messiah coming in. They said the Messiah is going to be born, but he said, this guy's going to compete against me. All young boys are to be killed who are babies that are born.
He was basically Rome's Jew. That's what he was.
He wasn't really a Jew.
He was a Jew. Yes, of course he was a Jew.
Well, he wasn't a practicing Hebrew, a practicing of
He
the
was
God of Abraham, Isaac, and
he was
Jacob.
Jewish as they come. Okay, don't sit there and tell me Herod was not Jewish.
We wanted to kill the Messiah.
That's the Messiah was not Rhett. The Messiah was Jesus, who was not Jewish. Okay, he was not trying to kill.
We didn't even know who it was at this point. There's a bunch of babies being born.
Yeah.
The prophets are saying that he's coming. So
The
he says,
Messiah-
what am I going to do? Let's kill all the boys. Same
actually-
thing they did in Egypt when there was a promise of an emancipator named the Moses.
Yeah, actually, the concept the Romans had of trying to kill off Jesus as the Messiah was because they saw him as being
threat.
they saw him as being a worldly king, someone who would take over from them.
Which he had no intention.
And remove, he was like a revolutionary king. That's the idea. So they wanted to get rid of the revolutionary king. That was their purpose. That's
from the Roman point of view, yes.
Yeah, let's get back to the Philadelphia corridor.
Herod.
Philadelphia corridor, we're drifting off tracks. Let's get back to Philadelphia corridor for just a bit and explain. So Egypt is very upset with Israel having occupied the Philadelphia corridor. The Israelis now are stuck. They have the Hamas has been removed. Israel is now in charge of this Philadelphia corridor, including the Rafah passing, and they can't get any movement of goods through there. Nobody's moving goods through there. The whole thing is shut down. Now, Israel is blaming Egypt and saying, you're responsible for this shutting down of the Rafah crossing. Egypt is saying that's an absolute lie. You took over and violated the traditional rules for negotiation of passage through the Rafah crossing, and therefore you're the one to blame.
How come they don't help the Palestinians, the Egyptians?
The Egyptians are helping the Palestinians.
They're not letting them sleep in
That's
the desert.
not letting them sleep in the
We
Sinai,
take refugees. Why shouldn't they take refugees?
Not letting them come into the Sinai. The refugees we took were Jewish, by the way, mostly the ones we took in. That was after
What are you talking about?
we took in refugees. We took in 9 million refugees from Israel,
When?
from the Jews at the time of the early migrations coming in 1920s. There were lots of them coming in before the World War II. There were pogroms going on in Eastern Europe, and lots of these people were fleeing, and they wanted to get away from the pogroms. And the Brits and the French did not want them to come in there, so they were applying and approved to come to the United States.
Do you know why the French didn't want them?
I'm not going to get into that. I do know, but I'm not going to talk about
Well, just
that.
give me a couple of words so I know basically what it is. I won't argue.
Anti-Semitism. They did not want the Semitics coming into their country. They were anti-Semitic themselves. They
Can I
didn't.
just ask you this one? Just
they
a
weren't
couple-
engaged in pogroms.
Why the anti-Semitism?
Okay, that's another question.
But
and
just
I'm not,
make it simple, and I'll believe you.
Okay, there are many
Why?
reasons.
Why?
There are many reasons why anti-Semitism exists in Europe. Europe has had a long tradition going back to the Middle Ages of being anti-Semitic. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't figure
Now,
out when.
and that therefore, what you're asking is like an encyclopedic question to say, oh, why are Europeans anti-Semitic, or why
I'd
were
like
they?
to know.
Yeah, well, you can read
And I'm
about it.
surprised what's going on in America right now. All this
Yeah.
pro-Palestinian stuff and the
Okay.
hatred of the Jews. Where
well,
did this come from?
Well, let me point out. This is a good example, and we'll get to this in the next question about the International Criminal Court. Netanyahu has just said that the decision of the International Criminal Court to accuse him of crime and basically arrest him, just like Putin,
yeah.
that this is pouring gasoline on the fire of anti-Semitism. That's what Netanyahu said as a response.
He is no Putin. He did not invade their country. Hamas invaded their country, and they responded to protect themselves and are trying to get the hostages back.
Okay. When you say they and Hamas invaded,
Hamas initiated this whole thing.
okay, that's
But I've been told this. Are you the one who told me last week that they actually did this? Somebody told me the other day that they did this because Iran was unhappy about the cooperation that the Egyptians were about to make, or was it the Saudis were about to make with? Are you the one who taught me that? With Israel, and so they didn't want that. So they actually paid these guys lots of money to buy ammo and come in and start all this trouble. So that would be
okay.
That would fall apart.
The reason for October 7th attack is multifaceted. There's not a single reason.
Right.
The standard line that's being offered to Americans, naive Americans like yourself, is that the Hamas just suddenly woke up one day and said, "Hey, this is a good day. Let's go and attack, and let's just kill a bunch of people and rape a bunch of people."
Unfolding revelations are made now. The way they were treated in Hamas, not Hamas, in Gaza. And it's whatever.
They've been in prison.
There's real bad wrong on all sides here.
That's of course the first thing that I would totally agree with you on. That there are bad things going on all sides. It has to be sorted out.
I would if I was to sit with Netanyahu and I said, why wouldn't you not allow those people to go out over 3 miles and go fishing
and have an airport?
Why would you not allow them to
airport?
have an airport? I mean, this is their country. Give them freedom. Why in the world? What's going on?
Because
here?
he's saying that it is not their country, and this is
so
part
it's essentially a prison.
Essentially, it's a prison, and their ultimate.
What would he say to me? What would Netanyahu say though?
Well, his
maybe he'd say nothing.
His essential position, although it's been I know it's been made more clear recently. It wasn't as clear earlier. Is there's no such thing as a Palestinian, and there's no such thing as a Palestinian state. That's what Israel would say. Israel would say, Palestine doesn't exist, Palestinians don't exist.
And the Palestinians say, from the river to the ocean, we want to annihilate the Jews.
Well,
so did Iran. Iran said they want to destroy and kill all Jews.
Actually,
you know that.
Actually, the term that they're using, that kids are chanting on the campuses, is not that we're going to annihilate all of the Jews in the Palestine. It's from the river to the sea, the Palestinians will be free. Now, free means free of occupation. That means they do not want to have the Israeli as overlords with their foot on their neck.
I got it.
You got it?
There you're a little wrong.
I'm wrong?
Yes.
Well, you don't know.
There are a lot of
you don't know the hearts of man. How do you know the hearts of man?
Well, I see their signs. I'll give you 50%. 50%. You're right. These kids are out there thinking that they just don't want to see little kids and babies killed. But why don't they ever? Nobody ever mentions in the news media here, hardly ever, do they mention the side of the Jews that they were attacked.
Of course they do. If you turn on Fox,
hardly.
Rhett, if you turn on...
I don't watch Fox.
Oh, well, you should watch it because you say
I don't watch Fox. Fox is screwed up, and they're just as much screwed up as the guys on the left. We, the people, really hunger for good journalism again.
Yeah.
Just this morning I woke up because you're going to do the show. I'm reading NPR, but I know that I can't trust NPR because they're skewed. I wish I could trust NPR.
Actually, what you can trust NPR to a degree, but yes, they are biased.
I certainly like the way they package themselves. I like the way they deliver. I like their artistic stuff, like the little tiny desk concerts.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I mean, a lot that they do right is really cool, but the way that they're skewed to the left, and then they're getting $300 million a year. Yeah. I'm Rhett Palmer. Yeah. I'm a radio guy. Is that fair? Look at they got buses in this town right here that deliver old people from the government. And the local, there goes one right now. They have advertising on the side of that bus. Somebody says, no, I'm not going to advertise with you, Rhett, or in your magazine, Vero's Voice. I'm going to put it in the government. I help pay for that truck. I'm paying that. And look at Orca. See that thing right there? They used to advertise in my magazine, a full page, a couple $1,000s a month. Yeah. Now they're on the side of the buses, and they're not with me. There you go. Oh, how are we going to pay the rent this month? I haven't got $300 million coming in. But talk about justice. And you'll sit there, you'll smile,
you're complaining.
And you know what? We'll get out of here. Not anybody gives a flying
whatever.
squirrel that we have that hard problem. Why doesn't somebody come to our rescue? You
Right.
know, why
Well,
should NPR get
you
all this
should
money?
declare your-
Why should they get to have those trucks and those vans
You
and
should-
take away my business
should
if it's
declare-
the government? The government has become my competition.
Right. You should just declare yourself a nonprofit and be done with it.
And I was suggested that about 10 years ago. Probably, I don't understand many things, and I probably should have listened to the man and done it.
You could have been richer as a nonprofit, probably. You know, nonprofits pay their leaders pretty high salaries.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could be a nonprofit, which
I
would
just
be.
have wanted to go through life. I didn't want to deceive anybody. I don't want to be found at the end of my life that
Okay.
I sold out for money.
Okay. Anyway, the last thing
Or
on this
compromise, you know.
Rafah crossing, since the Israelis have taken over this Rafah crossing, and now they can't. They've got in this big fight with the Egyptians. Oh, I've explained that to you, and that's of course put the Egyptians into an angry situation. They used to be Israel's friend. They're not Israel's friend anymore. The Egyptians are angry.
See? So
Angry.
So
And-
Iran. Let's say this. Well, Iran. They succeeded.
No,
because,
don't leave Iran out of it. This is Israel.
What about those peace?
This is nothing. This has to do with Israel abusing treaties that it has signed with a neighboring country. The peace treaty that it has with Egypt, Israel is abusing. Israel being Netanyahu and his far-right crowd. That's what I said before. I'm not against Israel. I'm against what Netanyahu and his far-right crowd are doing.
You and I. Do
Yeah.
you consider yourself a good person? Fairly good. Okay.
Acceptable.
So we
yeah.
just found out these guys in Russia that went into that theater and killed all those people. They caught them, right? Their lives are over. The one guy caught. He says, "Why did you do this?" Because they were paying us, $5,000, $20,000. You're a common guy like me, and you were willing to shoot somebody for $20,000? You're going to kill people? Actually, do you want to know the truth is? I can go to a certain section of this town,
Yeah.
and I can pull
Okay.
out $300, and they
Okay.
will kill somebody for that money.
Well, if you know
They're
all
bad
that-
people.
if you know all
I
that-
don't know it. I've been told it.
Okay, you've been
I
told
don't
it.
play with those people.
Okay.
I'm not in the circles. I get a little bit of the crumbs that fall down and go, what is this?
Okay, well, see, that's the problem with making a statement like that
Mm-hmm.
without knowing it and talking about crumbs that you happen to have heard a rumor of a rumor.
Well,
That's
why
wrong. That's wrong.
That's why I'm putting them on the table here.
You're putting
to
it on
be
the
thought
table
about.
as an allegation with unproved fact. Okay,
I
and
am.
therefore
I am.
you can't
I'm not
say
putting on here. I'm not telling you,
you
this
can't
is
say
truth.
that this is true. Okay,
That's
and
right. I'm
therefore
not
our
saying
audience
that.
out there
I'm putting
should
it out there.
disregard what you just said.
Not disregard it. We
Yes.
should chew on it.
No, you
You
shouldn't.
should chew on
No,
it.
I could say that Martians are coming off the moon, and they are.
But if I say that I got picked up much, you should consider me and do an investigation.
I'm not going to investigate Martians on the moon. I'm sorry.
Well, see, then you're not a truth seeker.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. There are areas.
I really am worried about you in this whole
Yeah.
process, because I never ever see you say anything that contests this far. What do we call this view? We don't have left and right here. What do we have? We have Hamas.
We're talking- no,
and
we're-
we have Israel. Israel,
You see, this is wrong analogy to sit there and say, which Israel and a lot of people, even in America who are Jewish, are saying that if you are against Israel's uncontrolled invasion and assault and slaughter in Gaza, if you're against that, then you by definition are pro-Hamas. That is a false equivalence. There is not a equivalence there. If you are against the uncontrolled slaughter of women and children in Israel, in Gaza, by this Israeli army, that does not mean that you are pro-Hamas. That means you are against the
I would
uncontrolled
say
slaughter.
this. Let's pretend you and I are neighbors and we
Yeah.
live on Gaza and we're Palestinians. Now, all of a sudden, these guys come along and I say, "Hey, David, these are bad dudes." Yeah. What am I going to say? But at least they're fighting for us because they won't even allow us to go fishing 3 miles out.
Yeah,
And we don't have an airport.
right.
So, yeah, I voted for Hamas.
Well, as I said before,
But then
as I said
there's
before,
a responsibility to that, and here we are.
You see, this is a problem also with Israel, with this strategy, with Netanyahu's strategy. I hate to say Israel's strategy because Israel is being dragged into this mess by Netanyahu and his clowns, okay? And the fact is they have no way out. This is a no way out solution. Let me explain why. They don't have a
know that they're
solution to the end.
clowns. I don't know.
They don't have a solution to this war. Even Minister Gallant, the defense minister, he has challenged the leadership of Netanyahu and said they have ignored his request for finding a replacement for Hamas as the rulers of Gaza. When they win this war, quote, win this war, when they eliminate Rafah, wherever that is, they've got to have a replacement. Who's going to be replacing Hamas? They don't have a replacement. They don't, in fact, the PLO, or the Palestinian Authority, that has been suggested by the United States as the replacement.
So I'm sitting here and I'm not getting any information that helps me to really come to terms.
How are you going to solve the problem of the end of the war, Rhett?
All I know is this. Okay, let's take my two heroes, Mahatma Gandhi and
Martin Luther.
yes, Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, what would they do? I can't say what would Jesus do because he's got a whole other agenda.
Yeah.
And he's blessed are the peacemakers and blah, blah. But let's
Yeah.
just take his workers down here, his two dedicated servants.
They would stop the war, first of all. They would stop the war, and then they would...
I would say this. If I was the mayor of Vero Beach, Florida,
Yeah,
and I'm starving the people out, you know what's going to happen?
yeah.
They're going to rise up, and they're going to put me on the gallows. I'm going to die. But if I feed the people, and they're fat and happy, they won't go out on the street at night. They won't go. Only hungry people. So Israel, essentially, what I'm seeing
Creating enemies. Massive numbers of enemies.
If I
yes.
was the king of Israel, I would have said, let's take care of these people. I mean, let's.
Yeah, even the Romans were smart enough like that.
But I bet you there's another side to the story we're not seeing. I don't know.
Yeah, the others. I'll explain the other side of the story.
Love is always the better choice.
The other side of the story is that the Israelis who are in control right now, the far-right extremists in control,
Yes.
they do not have love as their agenda. They have hate and destruction as their agenda.
Hold on. You just told me before we have a right to judge people's hearts. I think Netanyahu may be just as blinded as someone who robs banks and does evil. Maybe he really thinks he's doing the right thing to protect his country.
Well, then let's investigate that. That's the next topic, right there. Number 2.
Here you go.
Number 2.
Israel far-right Zionist Independence Day rally. On May 14th, approximately 50,000 Israeli settlers and their supporters, including senior minister of Netanyahu's government, held a rally in
Sidrot.
How do you find out the correct pronunciation of these things?
Okay.
I'm very impressed. Anyway, Sidrot. You're not impressed at all. You're not even impressed that I'm impressed. Sidrot. That's the name. Say it, move along. Okay, that's you. They called for Israel to build Jewish settlements on the ruins of Gaza's destroyed cities and encouraged Palestinians to voluntarily emigrate to other countries. Is this advocating for ethnic cleansing?
Now, that happened last week.
Yeah.
May 14th.
Yeah.
They had a 50,000 people, big rally. They actually, they had I'll quote one of the guys. His name is Chani Lutz. He's an Israeli originally from Queens, New York. So he's an American who went over to Israel and either became an Israeli or he has dual nationality.
He's a Jewish kid from America.
He's a Jewish kid from America, maybe holding both U.S. and Jewish passports. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of these people do.
I'd like to get that because then you get retirement from both countries.
Okay, anyway, so his point, his claim to the media at this rally was, it's either them or us. We have to clear out Gaza. That's what he's saying. It's them or us. And
it may be.
And he also made a comment, what I call a snarky comment. If South Africa loves them so much, they should take up residence from here in Israel, Gaza, and move to South Africa.
Well, you guys are saying the same thing.
My guys? Who's my guys?
You're saying, hey, let the Jews move to Texas.
I didn't say let them move.
Excuse me, Father, but what kind of bullshit is that?
It's not bullshit.
It is bullshit.
If you understand
bullshit.
If you understand the original,
the word of the day.
If you understand the original Zionist,
I'm getting a tap on my shoulder
Rhett,
from my angel.
you-
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry, people.
Okay.
I'm not supposed to talk that way.
If you look at the original, Zionist movement
I don't wanna
back
talk
at the
about that,
time
Father.
of Chaim Weissman and in the days before the
Yes.
the Balfour Declaration, there were lots of discussions of having
The Balfour Declaration.
Balfour Declaration, 1917. Yeah, that was the one the British
Yeah,
signed.
right,
Lord
right,
Balfour.
okay. That
Yeah.
was pre-Israel.
That was way before Israel, yeah. And but it was seen as what was called the green light, approving the allowing of the Jews to move back into Palestine and live there side by side with the existing Palestinians.
Am I correct to say that generally the Jews are a non-warring group, or am I wrong? Like, for instance, when the Philistines were harassing Israel.
The Philistines were not harassing Israel. The Israelis invaded Palestine.
No. I'm talking about way back.
I'm talking
King
about.
David.
I know, not King David. Before that, Moses. Moses came in and he brought in invading army, and they basically wiped out the tribes of the Canaan. They killed them, took them over, and took that area by force. So don't sit there and tell me the Israelis are a peaceful people.
And why did the Israelis come? Because they were held for 400 years.
Was that the Canaanites' problem? Wait a minute.
Hold on. Slavery. We had 6% of all the slaves that ever were came to America. All the black people all upset. Go down to South America and stuff. That's true. Study the history.
Keep in mind the Canaanites are not the ones that held the Israelites.
Moaning in there.
The Canaanites were not the ones that held the Israelites in slavery. It was the Egyptians that did. Okay, so if they wanted to come to Egypt and take over Egypt, that'd be a different matter. But they didn't. They came and took over the Canaan.
They went to a low-populated area in the
It wasn't
desert.
low-populated. There were plenty of people there. They just happened to be Canaanites.
I
Okay.
like the way that you simplify everything.
Yeah, no, it's-
there's a few Moshes there, and these guys
see-
are there, and
you see, this
they
is-
come over the
this
hill
is-
and say, "Hey, we're going to kill you and take your
You
land."
see, this is the same thing that happened in 1947. The Israelis, under Moshe Dayan and
After Hitler.
and
murder.
and David Ben Gurion, who was the first president of Israel, they basically were arguing, "Oh, there's nobody here. This is an empty land. We're just going to come here. There are some other people, but they don't really count. So we're going to take over
They
this."
didn't really count. They actually let them stay.
No, they
And when
killed them. They killed them.
when
That's
I
called
was-
the Nakba. The Nakba. They chased the Palestinians out. 750,000 were chased out. Many of the ones that didn't leave were murdered. This is a part of the story that is not well known. But if you did not leave,
You act like this is something new.
the fact that they murdered,
War.
it was a war. The Palestinians did not declare war on the Israelis. The Israelis were an invading force.
Oh, and the Palestinians, 1,000 years ago, did declare war.
No, they-
Nobody's innocent here.
Rhett,
Nobody's
1947 was an act of wanton aggression by these Zionists to take a territory that was already occupied by. It was already
the British
occupied.
initiated this.
The Israelis took over the land that was occupied by the Palestinians.
Okay.
That's
Who
what
in
happened.
the world was it? The UN that approved this, or what? Who approved for Israel to come and say we're letting the Jews return to their land?
The closest you can say to approval would be based on the Balfour Declaration and based on continued support by the British.
Was there a certain day?
The
where he
British.
said, "Come on, you're Jewish. Come on, come here."
Actually,
this is your land."
the British had a what's called the Palestinian Mandate under the British rule. The Palestinian Mandate under the British rule. And based on the Balfour Declaration, some Jews were saying, look, we have a right, or we want to move into Palestine area. And the Arabs who were living in the Palestine said, we don't think that's a good idea. We want to limit it. And the British agreed with the Arabs and said, okay, we're only going to limit to maybe a maximum of 10,000 coming in to Palestine. So the British actually imposed restrictions on immigration of Jews to Palestine until World War II. And at that point, after the Holocaust, everybody felt guilty, and they said, well, let's just open the doors. If they want to move there, let's
I don't know if
allow them
everybody
to move
felt
there.
guilty. Maybe some people actually had compassion.
Well, they felt guilty, and they could have let them come into England.
You're like
No, I'm-
NPR. The word you choose. They felt guilty. We did it out of guilt. We didn't do this out of guilt.
Actually, there are some people that argue that the British, even after World War II, were anti-Semitic, and they were encouraging Israel to establish itself
'Cause
so
they
that
wanted
the
to get rid of
Jews
Jews?
could move
No,
out
no.
of Europe.
What I want to know
move
is,
out of Europe and
so
move
tell
to
me
Israel.
why.
Yeah.
Why? What if some guy down the street has a good, successful jewelry business? Why are you jealous? Because he succeeds and you didn't?
Maybe. I
They
don't know.
say in China right now there's a lot of killings very acceptable in the corporate world. They kill their competition. You have heard this, right?
No.
Okay.
No,
Well,
I haven't. Yeah, but all right. Well, let's go back to this Day of Independence
do you
rally.
think anybody's innocent here?
Yeah, I know for a fact that Ben Gvir and the far right extremists are not innocent. Their goal, as I just said, I read this to you about this guy from Queens, New York, saying it's either us or them, and send them to South Africa. Essentially, they want to expel these people from Gaza. They've openly said this. This includes ministers in the Israeli government, and this only happened last week. Ministers in the Israeli government saying, we want to get these people out of Gaza, and we want to move in there as settlers and take over the place ourselves. We want to build on the ruins, build our own Israeli settlements on the ruins, set up our own farms. We don't need the Gazan Palestinians. They need to just disappear. And that's essentially the policy that is the Palestinians are saying this is an attempt at what's called a second Nakba. They want to chase us out of the remaining Palestinians out of this whole area and just force us to go somewhere else or die. And to some extent, even the starvation policy that Israel is now engaged in, if they all die of starvation, hey, that's a good thing because then we have
Let me
it
ask you
free.
this. Now, you're an academic. There are certain decisions you never had to make. But you've lived long enough, hopefully maybe you've observed, there are people who succeed and people who don't succeed. And the ones that succeed, it's even more focused in Noah's generation right now. It's called niche. Find something, know what you want, and go. Even the Bible says, Jesus said, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Okay?
Right.
Half
Okay.
measures, people have said for a long time, half measures availeth nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you know that about people, then I don't understand. Everybody's trying to, it's all this since the Tower of Babel happened and God separated man,
Well, anyway,
what do you hope to accomplish here? Let's say this is our show.
yeah.
And Netanyahu's going to listen to it, and the
Yeah.
other side's going to listen to it.
I'm
Everybody's
hoping-
listening.
I'm hoping
How
that-
do you propose peace?
I'm hoping that the moderate Jews in America and the moderate Jews in Israel will decide that they've had enough of Netanyahu and the far-right
moderate
crowd. They
Jews
should
in-
get rid of them.
The moderate
Jim
Jews
Finney,
in America have no.
Jim
America
Finney-
needs to shut its face.
American Jews are hugely financing the settlement movement. Don't you understand that? I've said that before. We are paying and using
Okay.
tax-exempt
And-
write-offs.
Okay. Who's financing the other side?
There is no other side. The settlement movement.
Hamas, I mean.
Forget it.
Why should I forget that?
the-
They don't have their own
the
money,
point is-
that's for sure.
the point
they
is-
can't make a successful
Rhett,
factory there.
Rhett, the settlement movement is financed by American Jewry. That's exactly what's going on. We are sending billions of dollars to help Jews build illegal settlements out in the West Bank. And this same group, as you just said, this guy from Queens, he's over there protesting in Israel, saying, let's get all the Palestinians out of Gaza and make it into... He actually, one of these Americans that's over there in that crowd, they said, I wouldn't mind having a nice oceanfront condo in Gaza. That's what he said, one of them. Just think about that. Oh, yeah, let's wipe out these people, and we're going to build nice
It's been
luxury
a long
resorts.
time. Now, have you been to Tel Aviv?
No.
So, okay, do you know the map? Maybe you know the map better than me. Here, is this a pencil? I can't see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's here's Israel, right? Let's say this. This is over here is Gaza, right?
Gaza is on the corner of Egypt and Israel.
Down here.
Israel.
Here's Egypt. This is south. Up here is Tel Aviv. So how far is Tel Aviv to this Gaza place?
I'm guessing maybe a couple hundred miles.
I don't like
couple
it
hundred
since
miles.
we don't have maps anymore.
it's-
I'm going to go to the library today. You know why?
Well-
because on a screen, I can't get used to it. I like
Yeah.
to see the whole thing
All right.
and then go in on
I tell you what,
something.
let's take a break and we see if Noah can get a map of Israel and that area up
That would be nice.
on the screen
What
for
time
us.
is it?
It's time for a break. Yeah, it's 10
Oh,
o'clock.
my word.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a break, and then we got the
How
next
did that
question.
happen?
It's called discussing things and being off track a little. But anyway, we've covered that. As I said, this
See, I'm using this as a catalyst, though.
Yeah.
I want to get to some truth.
well, we've covered a lot of
No,
truth.
no, I mean truth for the future. What is the truth? You know, I just went to see the oncologist this week, Barbara, okay? Good news for her. Okay,
Oh,
we
great.
won't go into that, so that's good news.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been 5 years for one, 10 years for the other. Okay,
Great.
that's really good news. Okay.
Yeah.
The truth is, though, if you have cancer, now for me, this is Hamas, you have to take out, don't whine and moan in there. It's true, you don't leave 50% of the cancer.
Yeah, well, see, that's the problem. Your interpretation of
Hamas.
Hamas as a cancer, you might argue.
But I understand you. I want I'd love to fly. If he said he'd see me right now, I'd fly over to Israel today and go, why didn't you let them have an airport? Why didn't you let the Palestinians fish for a living? Why are these people really in an encampment that's a prison,
Actually,
just as an open-air prison?
Actually,
I mean, it seems.
breaking news today,
Breaking
and we'll
news
use this,
today.
is that
Ireland,
Ireland, Spain, and Norway
and Norway.
have all announced their recognition of Palestine as a state today.
What Palestine?
Palestinian state. They've recognized it. They're going to exchange ambassadors with the Palestinians and recognize it as a state. They're not going to wait around until Netanyahu decides that he's
Now, are
eventually
these
going.
Palestinians the only Palestinians? So the people in Egypt don't call themselves Palestinians.
The Palestinian state is different than calling yourself a Palestinian. There's a difference. Palestinian state is essentially what the United Nations recognizes the Palestinian Authority as the representative of the Palestinian state. As far as the territories of the Palestinian state, right now, it is
First of all,
it's the Palestinian state.
These three companies, I mean, these three countries you just mentioned.
Yeah, Spain,
Ireland,
and Norway.
So
Don't say these are. First of all, these are big countries, lots of population.
what difference is this going to make?
It's what I call opening the door to a wider recognition of Palestine as a state, as a legitimate state, something that Israel has been opposing and something that Netanyahu is saying he never is going to accept. Netanyahu has said, even though the United States supports a two-state solution, Netanyahu has said, I'll never accept a two-state solution.
You're naive. And
I'm not naive.
Yes, you are. And
Netanyahu's
I'm more
naive.
No, you're naive. You think, what are we going to do here? Do you think this is not everything we're talking about? And you're investing all your emotions?
No.
What difference are we going to make?
What difference does it make?
Yeah.
I think it would make a lot of difference to the starving and dying Palestinians in Gaza.
This goes back so far. It's so intricate. It's such a
No, it's
mess.
not. It's not intricate. This can be stopped. The Israelis, we are supplying the Israelis.
Right now you can stop one thing, but they're all ramifications.
Rhett,
and
we are supplying the Israelis with political backing and with military weapons. The United States. We are
and Iran is fulfilling, giving Hamas their weaponry and money.
We are probably the most complicit in what war crimes Israel is now engaged in.
Complicit is a negative.
It means that you're a co-conspirator.
Term.
Yeah,
that's right.
Co-conspirator.
So you're anti-American and you're anti-Israel.
Israel. I'm not anti anything. Okay, I am anti-Zionism and I am anti-Netanyahu and I am against Biden's being ridiculously.
But we throw these words around.
No, they're not throwing the words around. These words have meanings.
Zionism. There's different people that have different interpretations.
I know, and they may be misinformed about the meanings. That's what I would suggest.
A Zionist to you
Yeah.
is someone that says,
I tell you what, after the break, let's take a
if they're
break.
Zionists in Israel, how come they haven't kicked out the Palestinians?
How long can we go today? What do we have?
Well, we have nobody coming in.
Okay, so we'll take
I
a
gotta
break.
Press a button here for him.
Take a break, and we'll be back.
No, that's not it. Let's see. That's it. Okay.
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile. Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
A.E. Stalls Real Estate and Associates is a hometown family company. Josh and Mandy Stalls, along with their two sons, have deep roots in this community. As a boutique brokerage, they are located steps away from Vero's beachside communities. They have a strong team of realtors, the tools, and experience to guide clients to the closing table. Helping clients feel confident in the buying and selling market is what they do. You can reach them at stallsrealestate.com, Facebook, or 772-800-8305.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market store, you'll find Steve and his family, in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands: Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach, for a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
The Rhett Palmer broadcast is brought to you by Complete Electric Complete Alarm. Get your generator checked now before the next hurricane strikes. Call the good folks at Complete Electric Complete Alarm. You'll be safe and sound when the next hurricane strikes. Call Complete Electric Complete Alarm.
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market store, you'll find Steve and his family, in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands: Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach, for a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
Indian River County, roll with us, recycle. It's hard to recycle, right? Pizza boxes, milk cartons, dog food bags, frozen food boxes, to-go cups and lids. Where do they all go? No worries, there's an app for that. Download the Carter's Corner app on your mobile device at Google Play or the Apple App Store, or visit indianriver.gov to find out if an item is recyclable in your blue cart or not. So eliminate confusion at the cart and recycle right with the Carter's Corner app.
The Rhett Palmer broadcast is brought to you by Complete Electric Complete Alarm. Get your generator checked now before the next hurricane strikes. Call the good folks at Complete Electric Complete Alarm. You'll be safe and sound when the next hurricane strikes. Call Complete Electric Complete Alarm.
Hi, I'm Renee Fiore. I own Tropical Restoration Services. We do water damage, mold damage, fire damage. You have a toilet overflows. We also do leak detection to find where the source is at 772-217-7422. That's the phone number for Tropical Restoration Services. So call me direct, Renee Fiore, Tropical Restoration, 772-217-7422. We will find the source of your problem and fix it.
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile. Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
A.E. Stalls Real Estate and Associates is a hometown family company. Josh and Mandy Stalls, along with their two sons, have deep roots in this community. As a boutique brokerage, they are located steps away from Vero's beachside communities. They have a strong team of realtors, the tools, and experience to guide clients to the closing table. Helping clients feel confident in the buying and selling market is what they do. You can reach them at stallsrealestate.com, Facebook, or 772-800-8305.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market Store, you'll find Steve and his family in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands.
Now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
Hello. Here we are at Knapsack Productions. We take what we can out of the knapsack every day, and we do what we can. We got one light that's working. We got one light that's not working.
You're really on Yid Row today.
Yid Row. Instead of Skid Row, it's Yid Row. Anyway, oh jeez.
Yeah.
Hey, look. At least we're trying to do something.
We're trying to
If somebody
clarify
pick
the
on
issues.
us,
We're trying to clarify the
You know,
issue.
I'd say go off.
Yeah.
They'd say you go SCREW off. Go away. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be critical, Noah.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a critic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They put $100 million in that movie, but I think it should have been like this, so flippantly. Yeah, just like it took us a year to build this studio before the lights and all this other additional crap. It took us a year. You could come in here with a sledgehammer in 5 minutes, ruin it, and take another year to rebuild it. So it's the sledgehammer person is the critical person. It's easy to be critical. I'll put this right back on you. Come in here with a list of solutions. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want
there are
peace.
solutions.
At least I want peace.
Actually, one of the solutions is the next topic.
Okay, there we go. Netanyahu. You know what we should do is we should actually post these questions.
They are posted in the podcast versions. They're posted. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I think they are.
Ahead
But
of
anyway,
time? These should be posted ahead of time so people can catch
Oh.
up and tune in, and then we should take phone calls from people. Then we'd be on till 3 in the afternoon. Netanyahu arrest warrant by International Criminal Court. Or you want to talk about that? The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, has announced plans to issue arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant. Well, I'm surprised they don't bring in Putin in this. You know, I mean, we want to put them all together.
Okay.
We want to put them
is
in
there
a stew
question?
together.
Is there a question here?
He accuses Israel's leaders of engaging in a systematic policy of starvation of civilians as active warfare, which is criminal behavior under international law. I tell you what, the thing is that what's doing it. What will Israel do? Should the U.S. accept the ICC's decision? First of all, who's the ICC? Who appointed these guys to do anything?
Okay, the International Criminal Court was established in 1998
By who?
By an international agreement called the Rome Statute. The Rome Statute.
Who was involved in this agreement?
Well, 123 countries agreed to
who
sign.
picked those countries?
Every country that wanted to could join. Okay.
The ICC.
The ICC.
And
Every
it stands
country.
for what again?
The International Criminal Court. It's not part of the United Nations, by the way. It's separate from the United Nations. And
what differentiate? What does the United Nations do?
Well, no, let's not do that. Let's talk about the Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court is separate from the United Nations. It was established under the Rome Statute. 123 countries agreed to join.
Mm-hmm.
The United States signed the treaty, but President Clinton at the time did not submit it to the Senate for ratification. Therefore, we are a signature to the ICC, but we are not obligated to the treaty of the ICC because our treaties have to be confirmed by the Senate, and Clinton never submitted it.
Why did he ever say why?
Well, he argued, and others later in the U.S. government, other presidents have argued, that they wanted to have the ICC be passed through the UN Security Council before they could bring a charge. Now, essentially what they wanted is to have the U.S. have a veto power over which cases can be heard and which cases cannot be heard. That's what the United States wanted. So what they wanted was their cake and eat it too. They wanted to act like I'm a believer in the international justice, but I want to be sure that international justice is applied as I see fit, not...
Well, that's the height of arrogance.
It's duplicity and the height of arrogance.
What did we do
Yeah.
with Putin? What did this ICC do with Putin?
I want to bring that out because this is interesting because right now the United States is saying this decision of the ICC to prosecute Mr. Netanyahu, they have no authority to do that, and the ICC is and of course Netanyahu is saying the ICC is an anti-Zionist organization. Anybody that does anything against Netanyahu is by definition anti-Zionist. He pulls the Jewish card out of his pocket every time anybody challenges him. Okay? Now,
it's the truth.
no, it's not the truth. That's absolute lie. It's a lie.
there's a lot
It's
of-
nothing to do
it's not a lie.
with Judaism. It has to do with Netanyahu and his behavior. And so, but
You
we're
don't
going to.
think that skews it at all?
But let's go back to this. You mentioned Putin. You know, the irony here is the United States thought, in the case of Putin, Mr. Joe Biden said the word genocide to describe the atrocities of Russia in Ukraine is accurate. That's what he said.
Genocide.
Genocide to describe the atrocities, and that's what the ICC claimed. And the president, also claimed, that's Biden said that Putin was a war criminal because of the actions that he was taking in Ukraine.
Who said that? CCU?
No, the Biden, President Biden
Well, I
said
don't care
that.
what he said. I want to know what the ICC
Well, the
said.
ICC was also using war criminal charges and genocide charges.
So did they convict him?
They have issued arrest warrants for him. He has not been tried yet. He's supposedly
Okay, so
needs
where
to
are
be,
we going to capture this guy Putin and bring him where? Where would this take place if we had a court? Does anybody know?
Yes, it's in The Hague. There is a court
The Hague.
in The Hague in the Netherlands is the actual seat of the International Criminal Court. It composes 3 different sets of judges. One is a pretrial judge, one is the trial judge, a set bank of trial judges, and then there's an appellant, believe it or not, an appeals court of the ICC. So if you're convicted in the ICC, you can go to an appeals within that. That's the setup that they've got there. Now, interestingly, so if Putin was caught, and all of these signatories to the Rome Statute, 123 countries, if you have an arrest warrant and you happen to wander into one of those 123 countries, those countries, by statute, are obligated to arrest you and turn you over to The Hague for trial. So that's why Putin did not go to South Africa. He was recently having a BRICS summit. You mentioned that.
Oh, because they're connected to
Because South Africa is a member of the...
So they would be obligated
They would
to
be
arrest
obligated to arrest Putin. So Putin did not go. He attended a video conference, but he did not step foot on the territory of... Now, Putin was just recently in China. But China is not a signatory to the ICC, and therefore China is not obligated to arrest Putin for walking into China because it's not a member. Okay? So if Netanyahu is arrested, or at least has an arrest warrant, that means 123 countries he can't go into without their arresting him, just like Putin. Same thing. 123. But the United States is not a confirmed. We
so
did not.
Netanyahu could come here.
Netanyahu could come here. He could go to China. I think India is also not a signature to the ICC.
Well, was China getting along with Israel?
I don't know, and I'm not going to cover that topic today.
Okay.
That's too much of
All right.
a broad subject. So, but I want to go back to the issue of the United States itself has a what I call a hypocritical relationship with the ICC. The U.S. itself was being investigated for war crimes given the running of the Abu Ghraib prison and the Gitmo prison and other acts of what you called torture of Afghans during the Afghan war. And the ICC was investigating this, and Trump was the president. And Bolton, Mr. John Bolton, was the national security advisor. And Bolton said, if you dare to charge our troops and our CIA with war crimes, then we will revoke the visa of your prosecutor for the ICC. And they actually did that. In 2019, the U.S. revoked the visa of the prosecutor, saying he, in this case a woman, she, couldn't come to the United States. And we were threatening to cut off funding, and the Secretary of State Pompeo called the ICC a kangaroo court. That's the Secretary of State, called the ICC a kangaroo court because they were going to prosecute Americans. And we're saying, oh, how dare you prosecute Americans for war crimes? The reality was America was committing war crimes. Now, the more complicated part of this is that there is a condition that ICC is only supposed to prosecute crimes that will not be prosecuted within the country itself. So in theory, if the United States had engaged in conducting investigations in its courts of the crimes committed, then the ICC doesn't need to intervene because the country itself has a responsible legal authority and it can investigate its own war crimes. That's an important concept. Now, this is being argued today by our Secretary of State, Blinken, that Israel has a responsible court system, and therefore if war crimes were committed, including the ones by Mr. Netanyahu, they can be investigated by the Israeli courts. And therefore, the ICC doesn't need to be issuing an arrest warrant for Mr. Netanyahu. Let the Israeli courts issue an arrest warrant. That's the argument. The problem with that is that the Israeli courts have no jurisdiction over what happens in the occupied territories. The occupied territories are outside the Israeli legal judicial system. It is run by the military court system, the IDF military court system. So there is, and the military court system has been found enormously deficient in trying Israeli military for war crimes that they have committed. They have only found like 1% of the cases that they have even brought to trial of all the charges that have been made against Israelis in the military for their acts of shooting Palestinians and whatever the case may be. So the court system in Israel does not actually exist that could try Mr. Netanyahu in a reasonable fashion, in a fair fashion. And therefore the argument is that the ICC is the court of last resort to bring about justice. That's the argument that's being made. So it's complicated. That's a very complicated subject. But the U.S. is still saying that the ICC should stay out of the Afghanistan investigation, and the ICC should drop the Palestine investigation, or the investigation of Israel and Netanyahu. That's the U.S. position, the official U.S. position. I disagree with the U.S. position. I think that Mr. Blinken is wrong, and he is essentially, and Biden is running cover for Israel. And one of the reasons why Biden is saying that this ICC case is unjustified is because Mr. Biden himself is a co-conspirator in the crimes that are being committed. Mr. Biden, if you look at international law, Mr. Biden himself could be held liable, along with Mr. Netanyahu, for the crimes that are being committed in that Gaza territory today. But I know that ruffles a lot of feathers. People are saying, how can our president be tried? Don't we have sovereign immunity? That's the question. And I'll answer that. The reality is, under the Rome Statute, and also under the Genocide Convention, which was signed in 1949, even heads of state are not immune to prosecution under those what's called enormous crimes. Being a head of state does not give you protection. You're entitled to protection of what's called sovereign immunity, like a king has sovereign immunity. But if a king commits war crimes, he's no longer protected. And the same thing with Biden, and the same thing with Netanyahu and Putin. That's why these heads of state can be brought to trial for committing gross war crimes.
What about casting aspersions or saying that people have committed a crime who were once president of the United States? They're doing what they're trying to do with Trump, that he was off. I said, then what will happen? Let's say he was convicted.
Yeah.
Every president heretofore will be up on charges because the other side disagrees with what they did while they were in office.
Well,
it makes a mess of our justice system.
It does.
I mean, there has to be some sovereignty and some protection for people in positions of authority to make decisions and fail, and be wrong.
Well, and of course,
now you don't think that the last election was compromised, but I do.
Yeah, and
I don't trust these thieves. Pelosi, did you say you're not? That's right, you're not Catholic. But Pelosi the other day, thank God there was a priest that wouldn't give her the body and blood of Christ because she's pro killing babies. I mean, these people speak out of both sides of their mouth, or attempt to. And you know what? Do you know what? And you have lived long enough. I hope you've lived long enough to know this.
Yeah.
When you start, and I worry about this for myself as an older guy.
Yeah.
That I got to watch out. Where have I compromised? Because when you start to compromise, like for instance, when I have the videotape of Biden. Now, let's say this. You can say whatever you want to say, but here's the videotape of Biden lying, saying he was in the top of his class. He was not. He had 3 degrees. Confronted by Sam Donaldson, a left-wing Jewish guy, I believe. I know he's left-wing, and says, You said you have 3 degrees. You only have 1. Oh, well, I forgot.
Okay, and you don't think Trump had sex with
Whoa,
Stormy Daniels?
whoa. Does that make... We're talking about Biden. You see how weak you are?
No.
You see how weak you
No.
are? You want to go to a man's personal life. Well, let's talk about Clinton and how he screwed around with oral sex in the office. Let's put that aside. Let's talk about a president lying.
Actually,
okay.
we've had lots of presidents who have lied. Clinton lied about smoking.
I bet you they all have.
Biden.
Do you think Lincoln? I read some stuff on Lincoln. I love Lincoln, but I was reading some stuff where it kind of was, he goes up to the razor's edge, and 5 minutes later, he's sort of leaning back on that edge to appease these people, because if you don't appease people, you can't get a vote.
Yeah.
Look, not one Democrat voted for the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah.
Now, if he had positioned it, maybe...
When I think about this, about presidents, we're talking about presidents and lying. And the thing that comes to my mind is the story about George Washington and the cherry tree. Now, a lot of people Noah's age probably have never heard of George Washington and the cherry tree. Noah, have you heard of that? Yes? Okay, that's good. So you learned that in school, or where did you learn that?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Listen, the great thing about Washington was they wanted to call him king. He said, "You're not going to call me king."
Yeah.
They wanted to reelect him. He said, "I'm not going to run a 3rd term."
What was the story
happen.
of the cherry tree? Tell me. What was the importance of that?
Well, telling the truth. They said, "Did you chop down the cherry tree?" And instead of saying he didn't, he did.
He admitted that he had done a wrong deed, but he did not lie about it to cover it up.
Right.
And that became a tradition of American integrity.
Well, it shouldn't just be American integrity. Jesus said, "No liars shall enter the kingdom of God."
Well,
for the devil is a liar and the father of all lies. We have to be very careful, because I believe Biden years ago got involved in politics, and I could see that happening. I could see that happen. To me, think that I'm impervious and that I couldn't fall, then I'd be a liar. So I mean, all of a sudden, well, I lied about this, I lied about that. Why not lie about this? And next thing you know, oh, what a web we weave when at first we deceive.
Right.
Oh, it's just very, very dangerous.
Okay,
to
keep in
lie.
mind.
I caught myself in a lie recently at something. I lied to somebody in a situation. By that afternoon, I said, you know what? I admitted to myself, you lied.
Okay.
You lied. I lied to get something I wanted to get done. Just some little trivial thing. But it was like, you lied. And I'm like, I don't want to lie.
Yeah. Well, obviously,
I don't want to lie.
Obviously,
I'm glad I caught myself.
It's a big part of integrity. I want to encourage the audience out there. We are not in trouble. We have to be responsible for ourselves, keep our moral ethics high, understand issues, analyze them, see all sides. As you said, watch more than one source of news. Try to analyze the news. We're entering into an election phase coming up, and we have what's called deep fakes and artificial intelligence that are going to throw curveballs at us.
You went to school in England.
Curveballs, yes.
Okay, in England, they don't allow the election to take place until 3 months prior to the election, correct?
Yeah,
There's
pretty
no
much.
campaigning.
Well, but see, that's a parliamentary system.
We already are tearing apart our country.
Yeah.
6 months ago. So the year before the new election, everybody's tearing at each other.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like a lame duck president.
The point is, what we've allowed to have happen is far right and far left have gained too much power in our country, both of them, and we need to trim the wings.
Look at this lady, this vitriolic. Now, I don't like Cheney's daughter at all, but I also don't like this. What's her name? You know who I'm talking about.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and actually.
You know what? Elegance was the lady who ran. She said controversial things.
Yeah.
But she was an elegant lady. Winston Churchill was by and large a very elegant man, although he could be a little bit of a smart aleck.
Right.
But he was brilliant.
Right.
You can be a gentleman and you can be a lady.
Yeah.
And still have conflicting views. But this Marjorie Taylor has no semblance of elegance.
Yeah.
And the guy she's going against, which it didn't work, because that guy now that's, what do you call him, the Speaker of the House?
Right, Johnson.
That guy has morals. You can just tell.
Well, I give Johnson credit for getting the bill passed to fund the Ukrainians.
That was what ticked off a lot of Republicans.
Yeah, that was a good
then they got rid of the last guy.
Yeah. So
for the same thing of compromise.
what we're talking about here for our audience is you've got to use your intelligence.
It's well, you were just saying it's all about compromise, aren't you? Because you're saying the extreme. You just said we're having problems because of the far right. Then we get the skinheads or whatever over there. Then we get the far left over here. And you know what? They're causing mayhem in the middle. And we're letting the tail wag the dog. Because you know what? We, the people, make the decision. You know what? It's the independents that make the decision. You know? Come on in.
Or people, whatever party they are, they can still vote. There were a lot of these cases.
Would you turn the thing there on the door? It says closed.
Yeah.
Noah, somebody was
Rhett.
coming. He's going to walk away thinking it's closed.
Rhett, there's a
Jeez. Could you do me a favor and just turn that sign on that door around?
there are a lot
Thank you.
There are a lot of people who are registered in one party, and this has been a tradition in many, going back years and years. Yeah. They're registered in one party, but they'll vote for the other party. The fact is, you're not locked in to vote just because you're registered.
It's just the reason I was with my liberal Jewish side of the family for the weekend.
Yeah.
And she says, Uncle Rhett, do you realize you're taking a liberal stance on something, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so you can't categorize me, finalize me, and say that I'm something that I'm not necessarily.
Yeah, and when you get when you get multiple on the ticket, all the way from the top all the way down, you don't have to go all the way down just in that party line. That is not.
Now, personally, I don't like Romney. I interviewed Romney.
Yeah.
And I interviewed his wife, and the picture of my interview with her, I would have voted for her for president before him. But he turns out to be a rhino. There has to be a certain. You have to draw a line in the sand somewhere.
Well,
so I don't like him, but I am a Trumpster, and I understand if I was liberal, I'd be scared to death of Trump, just like a lot of us are scared to death of what's going on the far left, and if he could learn to control his mouth. I'd love to be best friends with Donald Trump. I'd like to pull him aside and say, look, I want to be your, what do you call those guys the king used to have, the jester?
Your slave.
No, jester. Don't put words in my mouth. You don't like it when somebody does that to you. If I could be your jester. No, a jester has privilege. The jester can say, oh, the king looks bad today. He's got stinky hair. He's got stinky breath. And he can't have him beheaded. And the king's wrong about this. And even though, he can have conflicting views.
But see,
because, I would like to say to him, would you please learn to control
your image of him is that he is the king, and he thinks of himself as the king. That's the problem.
Think of him as the
You just
king.
said that. You just said that.
No.
Your image was you'd like to be working as his jester, and he's the king.
I didn't want to say the king. The jester worked with kings and could say anything. I would like to be friends with Donald Trump, but have carte blanche, and that I can say, Donald, you don't talk about someone the day after they're dead.
But why do you have to be a jester to do that? Why can't you just be a human being?
You should be able to.
You should be,
I understand.
But you wouldn't, because Trump would have your
because you have to understand. Trump somewhere, somehow, I'm not a psychologist, was hurt. He loves you. He will take care of people. He's taking care. I know lots of people. He's giving money to.
He was hurt.
He was hurt. So you throw a pebble at Donald Trump. Boom, that's it. I'm going to blow your ass up. But look what he did with that girl. The girl that really shouldn't have asked him that during the debate, the first debate, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whenever that was. Now he went back on her new show.
Yeah.
He does. He is a forgiving guy. The guy there's something about him that my mother would have been friends with him, and he would have treated her with elegance. He treats people with elegance one-on-one. Why he does this bombastic stuff, but you notice lately, he has simmered down. This is really a tame Donald Trump compared to what we had 7 years ago.
Actually, I don't think you've finished the Time Magazine article about him, the interview with the Time Magazine. When you do that, maybe next week we can talk a little about that. Because Trump has proposed
You think that's unbiased?
Trump has proposed some extreme. No, this is an interview. Trump speaking in his own words. It's not unbiased when Trump tells you what he's thinking.
No commentary?
There's no commentary. It's directly his quotes, his own words, out of his own mouth. And what he's suggesting is what I call a revolution, as you said. He is proposing a revolution.
Everybody wants everything to be copacetic. You know what?
What's copacetic mean?
You know what it means.
No,
don't
you tell me. Tell me what you
It's
do.
at
You know what it
peace.
means.
Everything's copacetic.
Calm,
Everything's good,
calm, and
good.
peaceful. Yeah.
But it's not.
So-
There probably are more thieves in Washington than there are good people.
So you want a revolution?
I think do you know what Thomas Jefferson said?
You need
The
one
American
every
people, yeah, right.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
is that quote?
Yeah, well, I don't support having a revolution. I'm not in favor of a
You
revolution.
just want to say this old, still, stale water.
If you
Keep it the way it is.
The United
Oh, and you
States-
go to the Senate for lunch, and it's $3.50,
Rhett.
and they have $2 million worth of lobster
Rhett.
and crab at the Senate kitchen over
hey,
there.
they're supporting the main
every
economy.
week.
They're supporting the main economy.
$2 million.
That's all Maine lobster. They're not eating lobster from South Africa. So no,
well, once you have Maine lobster,
you want-
won't go back.
you see, the point is, you say, "Oh, I want." You're saying you want to change things around. I'm actually rather happy with the way things are. I think the United States is at the top of the food chain. We are the most powerful country in the world. We have, at least until recently, under Biden's misbehavior, had a good reputation in the world as supporter of democracy and freedom and liberty and humanitarian causes. The United States, even under Trump, we did not destroy our reputation in that way. And yet we have in the last few years by backing.
Well, they said Trump was going to cause World War III, but he went over and saw Rocket Man and quelled him. Yeah, he's still experimenting, but it's not like it was beforehand.
Well,
when you go and see somebody, look at him face to face. Look, I'm flesh and blood, just like you. I don't hate you.
The point is, Trump.
And I do not want to destroy
Trump
you.
in his first administration, he was guarded by people who knew what was what.
And he didn't. He was not a politician. But I'll tell you what, he's a fast learner. Should he get reelected, things are going to go a whole lot different.
No, that's the problem. See,
That's
now
not the problem. The problem is, he's educated, and he knows the thievery, the thieves, and
Rhett,
the dogs,
Rhett,
and the vomit that exists
Rhett,
in Washington, D.C.
Rhett,
it is more horrible than...
Rhett,
look at. You're an okay guy, right?
They're guardrails.
I think you're okay. I
They're
don't know.
guardrails.
Maybe you're a weirdo,
Rhett,
and I don't even know
Rhett,
it.
There are
But,
guardrails. Let me explain this. There are guardrails.
There are guardrails.
Guardrails are things called laws, law and order.
Oh, yeah. And don't we have little pristine, the Bush family, and we have the Clintons, and everything's pristine, and puts on this false face, and they're all buddies in the background.
Okay.
And we're the schleps, or whatever you call it, the people schlepping
so
around.
What's your, so what you're proposing, and frankly, this is something that
degradation of the American society.
This is something that I worry about myself.
Yeah.
I worry that a lot of countries are going off the guardrails and going off into what I call far-right extremism. Far-right extremism. We already have examples of this with Mrs. Meloni from Italy, the president of the neo-fascists in Italy.
Going on there?
It's called the Brothers of Italy Party. Mrs. Meloni.
Oh, we got the Muslim brothers over here. The guy just got killed
that's different.
in the airplane.
Okay,
that's not different.
It's different than the Brothers of Italy. The Brothers of Italy.
Well, yeah, they got
the Brothers
different
of
names.
Italy is a direct descendant of the Mussolini fascists, and they are now running Italy.
And Mussolini was an idiot.
And they are now running Italy. The
Mussolini,
fascists. The
not
fascists.
Mussolini. Mussolini.
Okay, the fascists. You also have in France a movement of the Le Pen, Marine Le Pen. It's called the National Front, Marine Le Pen, and Le Pen is actually expected to gain popularity. And also, remember, we talked about this guy named Eric Zimmer. Eric Zimmer is even farther to the right than Marine Le Pen. I talked about him maybe 6 months or a year ago. He's Jewish, believe it or not, from Algeria. And Mr. Zimmer and Marine Le Pen, they are gaining strength in France. So Mr. Macron is likely to be weakened, if not lose his presidency. There's even discussion that Le Pen might become the prime minister of France, even while Macron is the president of France. So that's a discussion.
Things are getting out of hand. Your Christian faith is under fire. We're taking direct legal action today. Yet another senior living center has banned elderly residents from holding a Bible study.
Okay,
in
Rhett,
direct violation of federal law. You know what this is? See, what you don't understand is what Paul said. If you read your Bible, he said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities of light and darkness. This is spiritual warfare.
Okay,
And there ain't no middle ground. Jesus said, I wish above all things thou were either hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. He said, the world hates me because I show them that their deeds are evil.
Okay,
Don't tell me, I believe there's many ways to God. No, Jesus was ludicrous. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father except by me.
All right, save that for your other show.
I'm not going to save for any other show. You're not going to control my show. This is my show, and you and Feeney can go take a hike. That's it. You understand?
Okay. So anyway, the U.S. right now is at the top of the world order that we helped to establish ourselves, and it is benefiting us. The United States is benefiting enormously. We're getting lots of people say, oh, I don't like the global order. Well, the global order is what makes America rich. An average person in America is very wealthy. You don't see people around here starving to death. You don't see people...
Did you know that Vero Beach is to 0.003 of one of the richest cities in the world? Did you know that the poorest city in all of Florida is Gifford? The poorest! What a dichotomy.
Well, that, of course, would suggest that there's racism going on, economic racism going on. That would be because Gifford is our black population center here.
Look, I got out of the ghetto.
Yeah.
But I am white.
Yeah.
So you're going to give me, I have white privilege. I don't know, did I? The Black Avenger had a radio show that went national. He's been retired for 20 years, and I'm still schlepping around. So, would you like to buy some ads to support our show? How about putting some ads in Vero's Voice magazine, please?
Okay, we got one last question.
Oh, but NPR gets $300 million in these outrageous salaries. And I know a little girl here, Jeannie Gould.
Okay.
She worked for them for 10 years. And has a pension.
All right, we got one
my word.
one last question to cover.
The U.S. government gives Jeannie Gould a pension from NPR.
One last
among
question
other people.
we're gonna cover very briefly.
I like Jeannie Gould.
Very briefly.
Somebody up there.
Okay,
he
come
was
on.
talking
Rhett.
about you, Jamie. What? What do you want to know? What?
Putin and China.
Challenges where?
Putin and China.
Putin and China official visit last week. Russian President Putin visited China on an official state visit. He joined various meetings with President Xi, am I saying it right? Xi, and reaffirmed their unlimited partnership. What is the significance of this trip? Now, you put in the unlimited.
No, it's called unlimited. They have said themselves unlimited. That was not my words. That was their words. They have called
And
themselves
Hitler
an
also
unlimited
said he would be at peace with the Soviet Union.
Well, the fact is that...
He also signed a peace treaty with England.
The fact is that China and Russia are engaged in joint military exercises, including naval and air force exercises. They have economic expansion, including a pipeline going from Russia to China, supplying oil. That's, in fact, China is one of the major sources for income from for Russia, because by selling that oil, Russia now has the funds to continue the war in Ukraine.
Why do we allow the Chinese to buy up businesses in America?
Well, no, why do we allow China to continue to do trade with us when China is supporting Russia in its invasion of Ukraine?
So
That's
what do we
the
do?
question.
What do we
well,
do?
And there's a legitimate raising question: should we sanction China for its trade with Russia?
Well, I'll tell you what, old wimpy Biden won't do anything, but Trump will.
China is doing what I call sanction busting.
I gotta go.
Sanction
we got
busting.
other people coming in here.
Okay,
What's your
sanction
name?
busting.
What's your name?
Sanction busting.
What is your name?
Okay.
What is your name?
David Hunter.
And you were formerly?
A diplomat.
A diplomat. One final word. You got 30 seconds. Did you ever accomplish anything that you feel was notable? Maybe not noticed, but you know that it had value when you were a U.S. diplomat. Were you responsible for spreading peace, or what were you responsible for, and did you succeed at it?
Yes, I did succeed at it.
At what?
And some of the things that I did were organizing U.S. expanding U.S. trade relations with countries like in India.
Well, business.
Like in India, yeah, expanding trade relations. I helped organize a Bangalore Air Show.
Really?
Which
so you know how this all works.
And
like if I wanted to import something, you probably could give me some good advice.
I could.
Or export.
I could, but the symbolism, the political symbolism of having, for example, a U.S. pavilion with a large American presence in India, when India was at the time traditionally an ally of Russia, and the United States is now becoming a trade partner with India, that opens the door to expanding our relationship, bilateral relationship.
Okay, we got to let our other guests come in here.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
Thank you. See you next